Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We're back with Richard Forster. Take it away, Richard.
On that water agency proposal, the one thing they're pointing out, I think with the grant they're getting from outside sources, this would actually be a loan, not a grant, so the repayment would be required. But the amount of cost that they use for power, $73,000, would almost be offset by the amount of revenue generated by a solar system or by a hydro system,
Okay, right.
excuse me. So I think that's why their preference is right now with the Tanner system, unless the board is willing to fund both, which right now we have to see if the board is willing to fund one of them.
Do you want to tell people how they get, you have money in a fund for this, and how did we get some of that money again?
That was originally $2 million that came from the 57 negotiated agreement with East Bay Mud between the Board of Supervisors in Amador County and East Bay Mud. Really, East Bay Mud got a wonderful deal out of it. For $2 million, they got almost all of our water that comes off the McCalmy River.
Okay.
But anyway, that was a long time ago, and people thought they were doing the right thing. That $2 million has since grown. It's interesting that $2 million, about almost $2 million, was used to fight the Devil's Nose project to keep it going, which the Devil's Nose never went. So we spent $2 million of that, but the fund has generated back up now to over $5 million.
Okay.
Next up on the agenda, the Kirkwood Out Valley Transmission Line. We'll have representatives from Kirkwood coming down to talk about that project. As you know, they were supposed to come in and give periodic reports. This is running underground power all the way up to Kirkwood. That seems like a no-brainer to me. Why that would be better? It's better for recreation, that you don't see all these power lines every place, but I think there were some people concerned that if you're going to underground all that power up there, you can branch off of it and create more homes up there, more power for more homes. But that's not going to happen because the line has been sized now only so big, and it's basically enough to supply Kirkwood and just a few other entities.
You know, I'm just would like to say, when you're putting a line in, you ought to make that thing as big as possible. Fight it on another way, but
You and I
to have to come back and for a boneheaded move, that to me that would just seem like I think it would have a hard time allowing people, you know, with the political environment of getting people or housing in those areas.
Mm-hmm. Well, you and I are in agreement with that, but I know when I was served on the water agency, our goal was to try and upsize lines so that you don't have to go in and do the construction again.
Right.
In this case, though, you have people worried about growth.
Yeah, but I get that, but the cost is putting that trench in.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll go on from there. Enough
Okay.
politics for today. Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act. Prior to the end of the year, we have to have our designation and where we're going to use those monies that come off Secure Rural Schools, monies that are allocated by the federal government. As you know, this was put together to make up for losses in timber harvests that were dramatic in counties. The amount we get now is very small on this. We used to get $600,000 about 6 years ago. Now we're down to about $300,000, slightly over $300,000. The federal government, what they're doing is they put this deal together to appease rural counties after their bonehead policies on timber,
right,
and so it's
harvesting.
basically put all of our timber logging mills and things like
Just
that
wiped
out
out
of
the
business.
timber industry here.
Yeah, it's destroyed the timber industry throughout the rural counties.
right.
So what's happened is they put this together, but they're weaning us off this money now. This was a 3-year total that they used. The 3-year average that we got, I think, was 87 to 89 were the 3 worst years they could have picked for Amador County on timber harvest receipts. So anyway, we got a really small amount compared to most counties, but the determination tomorrow is where are you going to put this money? You get Title I, it goes into schools and roads. You have a determination whether to go Title II or Title III. Title III basically gives us more ability and more discretion how to use the money. It goes to Firewise communities. It's gone to our Sheriff's Department, Search and Rescue. I think that's probably the way we're going to go again. It makes the most sense for us.
Is there money that goes to the roads as well?
Half of that
Okay,
Title I
I thought it did. Okay.
So
All right.
it's a pretty significant. Basically, right now, that's about the only pot of money we get for our roads. That's why we're not seeing a lot of paving in Amador County, is we don't have the budget for road construction.
Okay.
So, John, Hoffman, our consultant, will be in on this, and John's been going through some issues now medically, but he's a trooper and coming in for this, so thanks to him. He does a great job on our natural resource issues. Going up now on, we have two big issues that are coming out of our Public Works Committee. One of them is limited density owner-built rural dwellings. Now,
Okay, right.
what this is doing, it was a discussion a couple weeks back. It's coming back to the board with questions that they were asked to answer. Some of those are on things like sprinklers. Would you be required to put sprinklers in if you, under this ordinance? If you follow this ordinance and you're owner-builder, you would not have to put sprinklers in. You would not have to do some other things, but the only counties I see reference here are Mendocino and Humboldt counties, and that's the other thing that we asked is
Right.
what counties have implemented this, why did they implement them? It appears they did this, at least one of those counties, when there was a catastrophic fire, and they wanted to give people the ability to rebuild more quickly. So we need to decide if we're going to go this way. The other questions we had, our Community Development Director, Aaron Bruce Torrey, feels that this is a good plan. Questions are, though, what do you do if you sell the house and someone buys the house, do they have to make those improvements, like putting sprinklers in and things like that? It appears they would have to. So in that case, it might not be such a good deal. I think there's still a lot of discussion that needs to take place on this issue.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I would like to hear why they would have to.
Well, you have
That's
to.
interesting. But
You have to because that original owner was given the authority to do that, but as an owner-builder, but once you sell that home, I believe they would have to go in and
you
make the
can buy
improvements
as is.
to bring it up to
Or
code.
you used to be able to do things like that. Right?
I'm
wouldn't
not, I'm under
They'll
the
discuss this tomorrow.
under the discussion we had last time,
Right.
that didn't
It
appear
was-
to be the
it was,
case.
okay.
The other one coming is 1530, Section 1530 revisions, and as you know, this is based on CAL FIRE and the fire code, safety in and out of properties. What the committee did is take the SRA, State Responsibility Area Fire Safe Regulations, and compare those to Section 1530, mold them, and see what changes they could make to make it easier for people to put roads in and things like that to their property. I actually think both of these are good in a lot of ways. There are some questions, though, that remain on them, and those will all come out at the board meeting on Tuesday. I'll give my Rural County Representatives of California report. That'll be my last RCRC report, because I'm going to go off that. Supervisor Oneto's going to take that. We do have some public hearings on California Land Conservation Act contracts, 2 of those. And then lastly on the agenda, we have a public hearing to look at our mitigation fee structure. This involves things like fees that go to our Sheriff's Department for jail construction and new jail construction. So those, we have to go through this once a year. It'll be a disclosure of the capital facilities fee, how those fees were derived, and this actually calls for an increase, a percentage increase based on the CPI, I think of slightly over 3%. If I remember right, it was 3.3%.
Okay, well, if you're interested, it's going to be an interesting meeting, and so you might want to show up at the Board of Supervisors tomorrow. That's all we have for the time for today. Thanks, Richard, for coming by.
Hey, Tom.
Thanks for watching TSPN. We'll see you again next time.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.